Welcome to the Songwriter Connection podcast, where we look at the craft of songwriting through the eyes of the songwriter. Each week, we make a connection with a music maker, listen to their songs, and hear their stories. From Nashville, Tennessee, here's your host, Dave Lenihan.
Well, we publish every Wednesday. Every week, a new connection that you can make on our show. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe because that really helps us. And thank you for spreading the word. We're doing well. We're one of the hottest music web podcasts out there right now. And that's all thanks to you and the hard work that you're doing in helping us out. So we certainly do appreciate you. One of the favorite things I had to do when I was programming a little radio station, when I was music director, was listening parties. We would just get together, get the group together, and just listen to the new songs that came in. And I would love to do that. We'd pick what we thought were hits, and sometimes we'd go by gut feelings. In fact, we even called it gut feeling ratings. We'd go 1 to 10. What do you think? And we'd plug it in and we'd listen, and sometimes we'd give it a spin on the air to see what our listeners thought about. And we just loved doing that because it was all about, and always been for me, all about the song. Our guest today has that same passion, but we also share another passion, that's baseball. In fact, the first time I met Steve Bloch, Steve Bloch's our guest. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Hello.
Spelled B-L-O-C-H. First time I met you was at a Christmas party. I believe it was at Billy Lee's house. And we sat and talked baseball for about an hour.
Oh.
It was awesome.
I remember.
I knew I liked you right away.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure I knew you were in the music business at the time. So
Well, that's because I couldn't be in the baseball business.
yeah, same with me. Same with me. So let me tell you a little bit about Steve Bloch. I mean, he's really done it all. He wears about 5 hats, and from Nashville consultant, publisher, songplugger, has his own publishing company. What do you call it these days? Is it still Southern Cal? Mm-hmm. It is. Okay. And he also listens for Doug Johnson. Doug's amazing songwriter, but also an industry exec. Right now, he's over creative at Black River Entertainment. And if you're not familiar with them, artists like Kelsey Ballerini and Craig Morgan and Jacob Davis, who's very, very hot these days, and others. Steve, he's worked with the West Coast Songwriters Association, the very famous Durango Songwriter Expo, Arizona Songwriter Association, works with Taxi, NSAI, and SGA, which is the Songwriter Guild of America, as I find out today. Steve, you've done a lot, and it's going to drop some names of some of the big cuts you've had. You've had cuts with Faith Hill, Leanne Womack, Rebecca Lynn Howard, Lee Greenwood, Kenny Chesney, John Barry, who has been on this podcast, Clay Walker, even Blake Shelton. Wow. Amazing.
The only thing older than me is that bio, Dave.
There's a lot more since then. Well, fill us in, man. What am I missing?
Well, there's one or two of the artists that you mentioned are no longer on the label that you mentioned.
Oh, really? Okay.
And,
well, I'll take that back.
And also, I listen also for Kent Wells, who's Dolly's producer. And,
wow. Okay.
And his projects, which is pretty exciting.
As in Dolly Parton. Did you see my Dolly Fungo Pop when you came in?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's rock and roll Dolly right there. So,
yeah.
Idolize her. That's great. Well, that's good. Let's talk a little bit about that. And when you say you listen for, is it kind of like the listening party I just described?
Well, in a sense. I mean, basically, listening for Doug and listening for Kent, I look at my job with them as simplifying their lives.
Yeah.
That's number one. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of a conduit. Other publishers and other songwriters will play me songs. Mm-hmm. And the ones that really, really float my boat, I'll get in touch with Kent and Doug and bring the appropriate songs in. Mm-hmm. And, it in some ways saves them some time and, makes the time they do spend listening to songs a little more economical. Mm-hmm. They're both songwriters. So
yes, and I was going to mention that. Yeah.
So I have to, Doug Johnson wrote a little song called 3 Wooden Crosses.
So he's got a high bar to begin with.
He's the highest.
Yeah.
So, my challenge becomes, how do you impress the guy who wrote 3 Wooden Crosses? So I tell other publishers and writers,
how do you?
Their job is to make me look good to Doug.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
It's like, it's such a great challenge. I mean, we go back to baseball. It's like, facing Sandy Koufax as a hitter. You kind of facing the best, and I need to bring songs in that are special enough that either Doug hasn't written it, would write it. It would be that he wishes he had written that one.
That's how I look
those
at
are
them.
the songs that I'm looking to bring in.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll miss by a long shot, and he may even say to me, "What'd you bring that in for, Bloch?" And I'll say, and it works every time, and I hope Doug's not listening right now, because it's as if he hears it for the first time, and I'll say, "Doug, you don't need me for doubles. You don't even need me for triples. You need me for home runs."
Home runs.
And when you're swinging for the fences, you take a big swing, and if you miss, it's a big whoosh of air. And he goes, He goes, "Okay, what else you got?" It brings him right back to where, okay, next, which is probably the most important word in our industry
Next.
anyway.
Yeah, next. Yeah, what else you got, right? Exactly.
Yeah, and you move on.
Yeah.
And you can't be afraid to miss songs either that are really good.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I've
Had a lot of swings and misses?
I've brought in songs that have been passed on that have been cut.
Yeah.
But Doug always says you can never be sorry for, can't be afraid to miss things every now and again. So
You can't be afraid to fail. You can't. And it's not a failure, really. It's, just not for you. Maybe it's for the next guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. How does Steve go about finding music?
Well, I do wear, like you said, about 5 hats in this industry. I do have my small boutique publishing company, where I have a signed writer that I met through one of the other hats I wear, which is a program that I source called Speed Pitch. I met this guy from Texas who's come to town 16 years every other week. He's driven to town from Texas.
Oh, my.
So I, as I was vetting him and getting to know him, having become interested in the songs that he presented, I look at things like, well, how's the work ethic? I find out who his co-writers are and have conversations and get a sense of who this writer is through their eyes. I find out as much as I can about his family and are they on board? Is his wife? Does he have a stable home life and the support that he needs there? And one thing I love about this guy, his name is Sean White, is how he genuinely roots for other songwriters and does it with his heart, and that other people really appreciate that, and so do I. So I can, without doubt, say when I'm leading the charge and trying to get him into a good songwriting situation with a great writer like Doug Johnson, that everyone who's written with him has wanted to write with him again. Wow. That takes some commitment from the other writer.
It does.
Look, everybody wants to write up in this town. You hear that
when
phrase
you say
a
write
lot.
up. Yeah, that's a phrase we hear a lot.
You're really talking about writing somebody who's a little bit more politically connected in town, where their name, might carry some cachet and what's the incentive for people to write down?
Yeah.
People don't look at that. Everyone wants to write up. Why would somebody want to write down? And I'm going to say that it's a lot of things that I've mentioned. This, how the writer, does the writer have somebody who's a champion for that writer and can speak on their behalf? Mm-hmm. Will that writer, stick with the song and wrestle it until it's done? And maybe most importantly, does that writer bring in unique ideas to the writing room? It's really about that. I mean, what I like to say is we already have what we've got in Nashville is already here. So how do you break in? You break in with a great idea. You break in with something that somebody wishes to hell they'd have thought to have written themselves. And so ideas really matter. And as I like to say, I'm stealing this line from a publisher friend of mine. We're not looking for the next Craig Wiseman or Shane McAnally. We're looking for the first you. and
that's so true. And we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, you've got to bring your authentic self.
You do
into the room, because we already got what we got. What we don't have is you.
That's right.
And are you going to be a seductive offer? And to the industry, and it's an important question to look at. It's important for songwriters to know who they are and what they bring.
That's
what
right.
They bring to the table, and own that. And take your best shots with that. You can always look at yourself in the mirror at night and feel good about it that way. Mm-hmm. Even though it is a town of no's, you'll hear a no. Mm-hmm. 95% of the time you're going to hear the word no. But no's can serve you. You can learn a lot from a no. And I guess I would ask writers everywhere to lose from their vocabulary the word rejection.
Yeah.
It's not about that.
Good point.
A no is a particular type of promise, and it could mean nothing more than, gee, I really love that song, but I don't have the artist for it right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say no.
And I've heard that so many times. Yeah, I like it. I don't know what to do with that right now. I don't have someone for that in mind.
Yeah.
So,
Well, those are the songs that I look for, by the way.
Are they?
Yeah. If it's a great song, I want to be a part of it, and I'll index it, and I'll have it on the ready. And somebody else, there's, like I said, the best word in the business is next. A no can simply be, being given some information, and you're going to go, next I'll take it to this other label or this other artist. Yeah. I'll check back with you in 6 months when you have a new artist at your own label that you're looking for. Right. Good songs are the things you want to attach yourself to. When I'm plugging songs, I don't use the vernacular, which everybody does, is I represent these songs. No, I like to say these songs represent me.
Oh, wow.
And
that's pretty good.
They're a calling card, and the standard is a high one. I look for great songs that are perfect. And that's all. Is that too much to ask?
Not too much to ask. So, but let me ask you this. So, what makes a song, and everybody's got an opinion on this, what makes a song great?
Well,
in Steve Bloch's eyes.
Okay. Well, I do make a distinction between great and perfect.
Okay.
And I look.
What is that?
I look at great as the heart and the art, and I look at perfect as the craft. And I'd rather have great than perfect. But if I can get both, all the better. I mean, and I've heard perfect songs that aren't great.
Yeah.
But I look for great. I look for the heart. I look for the gift in a song. I look for where's the contribution in that song. Everything doesn't have to be a life lesson, and everything doesn't have to be, a somber, message. As one of my favorite metaphysicians, Dr. Seuss, always said, fun is good. But if you're going to write fun, make it so damn fun that it's undeniable. How is it? I look for outstanding songs that stand out from. That's how I define outstanding. If it's going to be if it's going to be a pissed off female song, how's your pissed off female song gonna be the one in that theme? It's only a certain amount of themes you can write about.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I'm looking for those songs. And
I imagine over the years you've heard them all. You've heard it all.
Well, I've heard a lot of songs.
Yeah, so rarely do you get a song that surprises you from a point of view that you haven't really thought of before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I hear some great story songs, which is originally what brought me to town in the first place.
Yeah.
I really like visual. I love country music, and that's the only genre that I stay in that genre.
Yeah.
It's what brought me here, and it's what I stay true to.
Yeah.
And it's what makes me happy. To me, when a country song's done right, it's nothing short of great American literature.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And what a writer can do in 3.5 minutes just kicks my butt.
When you said that, the song I thought about right away was the old Don Williams song, "Good Old Boys Like Me." the imagery in that song. That song really, if you look at the lyrics to that song, it's just what you described. It's just a piece of work, artwork. It's poetry. It's amazing.
Well, you just asked me if I'm ever surprised about songs. Excuse me, and and I mentioned like that, that subgenre of the theme of pissed off female songs.
Yeah.
I mean, I get
angry chick syndrome is what Mark Allen Burnett calls it.
Okay, well, I get many of those submitted to me because, and people are writing about them because that's the experience they're having, and they're writing about something, that they know something about, and that's great.
Right. Yeah.
But I got one, and we were looking for a first single for an artist who's no longer on Doug's label, and we spent a lot of time looking for it. And she had lots of personality, and I would go go to pick up Doug for lunch, and he'd come out, get in my car, and before saying hello, he'd go, "Just looking for 3 minutes of magic. Just 3 minutes of magic." And I finally thought I found one, and I called him up and said, "Doug, I need 5 minutes." And
5 minutes to play you 3 minutes of magic.
Yeah. Have me over. But he asked me who wrote the song, and I told him, and he guessed it. So he already beat me to the punch.
He had heard it.
Yeah, but it turned out to be a song that we couldn't use because the writer was holding it for herself until she could get a deal.
Oh,
but what a great song it was, and she did wind up getting a deal on Warner, well deserved. Her name was Brandy Clark, and the song was a song called Stripes.
Oh yeah,
and the first line of the song, you want good songwriting and a unique song about a pissed off female from the perspective of a pissed off female. The first line is, "You were lying there with nothing on but a goofy little grin and a platinum blonde. I can't believe you do that on our bed." Boom!
Oh wow!
So you got two lines, and you've got three characters. You know what the breakdown is, what the problem is. You know whose side you're going to take, who you'll be rooting for, who you'll be rooting against, and now you've got. And that was such economical writing and such a good opening that you've got a whole 3 minutes to develop that character in an entertaining way and have a good resolution, and it's great. And the idea of the song, and its tongue in cheek, is no crime of fashion's worth a crime of passion. No crime of passion's worth crime of passion. The only thing saving your life, she's about to off him, but she doesn't want to wear. She hates orange, and she doesn't look good in stripes, and she hates orange.
Yes, I remember the song, and I tell you, if you haven't heard the song, you should look it up.
Stripes.
Stripes. Yeah. Brandy Clark.
And that she brought her personality into that thing and gave us a fictional character that's fully developed in that song. A tough broad who knows who she is, and a memorable character. That's what we're looking for. I want characters to pop out like that and to be real, where you can use all your senses to know them, know exactly who they are and what they're thinking, and we were given that in that song. I do highly recommend anybody look up that one. It's on a great album called 12 Stories of Brandy Clark songs.
Great. Yeah, she's amazing. Genius. Yeah, absolutely. All good points. Well, I'd like to play some of these songs. And let's start with this Scotch-on White that you discovered through one of your speed pitches. Talk about speed pitches real quick. That's something you do and that I heard of long before I even came to Nashville.
Okay. It's a... I don't even advertise it. That's why it's funny to talk about it on this.
It's kind of a secret society, isn't it?
It's it's a word of mouth kind of a thing. But it's basically the idea is to create a networking opportunity for serious songwriters who show a particular level of talent, and I can't stress this enough, good manners, who I make a guess are going to be easy to be in the room with, easy to hear the word no without being pushovers, but able to defend, whatever is asked of them about their song without being defensive, and people who want to get better. So I have 6 music industry pros, mostly publishers and pluggers, sometimes A&R people or from the labels or producers, managers. And
these are all people that can get a song cut, right?
Well, there's no one person hardly anymore who can get a song cut. Usually it's a little bit of a committee, but these are people whose yeses matter.
Yeses matter. There you go.
And it's based on the concept of speed dating. It's 13 minutes with each songwriter, 6 songwriters, each individually with 6 music industry pros. And after 13 minutes, we rotate.
Oh, wow.
And some good things have happened from that.
Yeah.
And it really is. You've heard this. It is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You know, the idea is I'll open the door, you know, a little ways, and hopefully when you leave, that door is open a little bit wider for the next time. If you see that person in town, they're going to be happy to see you and not run the other way. So, because this is a numbers game. Listen, this is capitalism at work. This industry, like all things. You know, who wouldn't want to be a successful songwriter or artist?
Right.
You know, we have more people who want to succeed at this than there are, you know, slots that can be filled. Yeah, so it's tough. You know, it's a tough business. So you've got to show good manners unless you're in the top 0.5% of the talent pool. You better be an easy person to be in the room with.
It's so true. You got to be a good hang. We've talked about that before in this podcast.
And so
there's certain guys that we talk about. You know, there's we mentioned we were talking about, you and I both saw a show at the Listening Room a couple of weeks back, and 4 great writers: Justin Love, Greg Wilson, who we're going to talk about. He's also been on this podcast, and a guy who's still kind of new to our area, but everybody loves to hang out with Joe Bazzelli because he's just a great guy, and we're going to get him on the podcast sooner or later too. But I think that's a good point. Every time you see that guy, you're glad that you saw him, and you know it's a big hug and how's it going? So,
goes a long ways.
It does.
So you want to be somebody that people want to see win in this town.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, let's play. Let's talk a little bit more about Scott Sean White, your writer, and it's Southern Cow Music is your publishing company. You told me you don't care for that name too much, and there's a story behind the name, right? Because you come from L.A., right?
Well, yeah.
Southern California?
I come from Southern California. I actually didn't think when I was starting my company that I would be moving to Nashville.
No.
And I thought, and back then, I was coming back and forth when people were saying, you know, this is early 90s, 91. Don't let people know that you're from Southern California. And I'm going, you know, that you're not one of us. And I'm going, you know, I'm like 9 feet tall, and I'm, you know, it's like, you know, people not noticing I'm tall and geeky. So I thought I'd make it part of the offer. So our logo was the state of California and Holstein, with Southern Cow written in Southern California, you know, where L.A. would be. You know, and I thought that a great song's a great song from wherever it comes. And I thought part of the offer would be I'll find the best songs from Southern California. I did wind up buying into the conventional wisdom that, you know, being here can save you lots of time. And I came to believe that and thought that moving here would save me 6 years of coming back and forth. I was lucky enough to keep my house in L.A. all that time, which turned out to be a good move. But I've been here full time since 93,
so people kept going back to this. People kept hearing Southern Cal and thinking it was Southern Cow. Is that what it was?
Yeah, they kind of. You know, I didn't correct them either.
You didn't correct them.
I like Southern Cal better than Southern Cow.
Yeah. So, do you love Nashville?
I do. I have no regrets from moving here. When I moved here in 93, which is 30 years ago, this November, it will be 30 years for me. Wow. It was a sleepy music town. Now it's a progressive city.
Yeah, it's so big.
But I've loved all of it,
to
tell you the truth, all of it.
Me too.
Didn't want the Titans here. Because I came from L.A. I just loved it being a slower, place.
But I know, being like me and loving baseball, you do want an MLB team here in Nashville, don't you?
I do not.
You
But
don't?
Thanks for asking. I
Really?
love minor league baseball.
Oh, you like the sounds? Yeah. See the sounds. Okay.
So.
All right. Well, let's talk about Scott Shawn White. So you discovered him at a speed pitch. What was the first thing you noticed about him? And let's play one of his songs here too.
Well, let's play one of his songs.
Okay.
Let's do it in a context.
Let's do it.
Let me say something about that.
Okay.
Because I do speak to writers groups a lot, and I'm always asked, what's a publisher looking for?
Yeah.
So it's in that context that this is a real example of what happened. The first song that he played me, and I look at, songs are your calling cards.
Yeah.
Songs should represent you as a writer. And what this song did was throw us into a relationship. Because of the song, there's so much. The song is so intimate, and it's 100, according to Scott, it's 100% autobiographical. There's not a word that's made up. So it's his history. He played me 3 songs initially, 3 or 4, and this one was the first I heard, and it is his history. And growing up in rural Texas, and it's not an easy history. It's a tough childhood. That's not my experience. I had an easy childhood.
Me too.
But you don't have, and I grew up in Los Angeles from a liberal Jewish family. Scott's holds his faith as a Christian central to his identity. He was rural, I was urban. He was, obviously geographically we're from different regions of the country. There couldn't have been. He's from a bigger family. I'm from a small family. There couldn't be more differences in terms of our experiences. But the key, and what I love about songs, it's not about sharing the experiences. It's about sharing the emotion of the experiences.
Oh, that's so true.
And Scott was willing to do that, and poured his heart out through this song. And that's what I look for. And I don't pitch this song. But songs have can serve different purposes.
That's right.
And this one served a great purpose, not only of attracting my attention and me asking to hear more, but I've gotten him in the rooms with his songwriting hero Tony Lane through this song.
Tony Lane.
I got him writing with Doug Johnson through this song and through my relationship with Doug. But this song can open doors because it's a shortcut to who he is. You get his heart in this song, and it's a solo, right? It's him singing. That also tells me, gee, is he just a melody guy? What's his contribution to the song? Can he write a lyric? This is again a solo write, which publishers want to know what your strengths are in a song, what you can bring to a song. So,
So is this Call It Even?
It's called Call It Even, yeah.
All right, let's play a bit. This is Scott Shawn White, who writes for our guest today, Stephen Bloch, on the Songwriter Connection.
My daddy hit my mama on more than one occasion, but he also saved my ass a time or two. To this day, I ain't quite sure if I love him or hate him. Through these tinted windows, it's hard to see the truth. Of all the things he said to me, what he never said hurt worse. But not everything he said led me the wrong way. Like the time I heard that boy at school call my friend the N-word. When I asked my daddy what that meant, he slammed on his brakes, pulled right over, said, "Son, hear me good now. Don't you ever let that word come out your mouth." Go figure. Some people run with the devil and walk Jesus. At their best, they are your heroes. At their worst, they are your demons. I guess in the end, you have to call it even. My mama hit the bottle till the bottle hit her back. That was the only fight she ever lost. Man, I wish you could have known her back before all that. You'd have seen the southern angel that carried my cross. She was the only thing between me and hell. And all the while she was drowning herself. Some people run with the devil and walk with Jesus. At their best, they are your heroes. At their worst, they are your demons. I guess in the end, you have to call it even. I know I ain't my mama, and I damn sure ain't my daddy. But then again, maybe there's something in my voice, something in my choices, something in my walk, my talk, my way. I just don't know, but God, I hope not. And God, I hope so. At their best, they were my heroes. At their worst, they are my demons. I guess in the end, I have to call it even. Call it even. My daddy hit my mama on more than one occasion, but he also saved my ass a time or two.
Wow. Well, it's got me. I can see why it got your attention.
Oh, yeah.
And here's a guy, his voice and the piano. Mm-hmm. And boy, what a song.
And he would, he doesn't know I'm doing this. He'd be upset that I'm not playing the record version. He did a
recorded version?
Did a project called Call It Even. That's the title track.
People can find that out there, probably.
Yeah. And
his name is Scott Sean White.
That's right. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to play this because in real life, this is the first song I heard, and this is the way it came to me in this form.
So let me ask you this, in your words, great or perfect?
It's great.
Great.
Yeah. And and I think it is pretty perfect. But again, I'd go for great every time. And Doug at one point asked me, he said, "Steve, go around and let's go around and try to find solo rights." And I know exactly what he meant by that. His thinking was, if you're writing by yourself, you're compelled to write something, and it may not have the craft of 2 or 3 people who can, add the craft, but you're also not going to be writing something by committee. You're going to be writing something that really, really matters to you. Mm-hmm. And I think that Doug was looking for, in my terminology, he's looking for great over perfect for the same reasons.
Well, it tells you a lot. If it's solo written, what that, like you said, what that person's all about.
Yeah.
And,
for me, a writer, I don't consider myself a songwriter, even though I've written a couple of songs. I don't, because I think my definition is a writer writes. You know, if you're compelled to write, you're a writer.
Right.
And I
hear you.
Yeah.
Let's take a little break, and when we come back, can we play another one from Sean? And then I want to talk about another song that a lot of people are talking about in this town, and I want to make time for this song called "Wake Up Call." So don't go away. We'll be right back here on the Songwriter Connection. Steve Bloch is my guest.
You're listening to the Songwriter Connection, connecting with music makers and hearing their songs and stories. Now back to the show with your host, Dave Linehan.
It's certainly been fantastic and fascinating talking to you know, from this side of the industry. Looking for perfect, looking for songs. Man, do you go out? Do you find yourself going out to writers' rounds and things, or no? Is that?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
But a lot of it is just really supporting people that I've gotten to know over the years.
That's what I love about you. You do. You support. You really do a lot to help the songwriters around here, and that's important. You know, we need more people like you, Steve.
Well,
yeah.
I agree.
And you're so humble. I love you. So yeah. So do we want to play another song by
you know? I just wanted to say one thing.
Go ahead.
When you're thinking about the songs you're writing, you know, the listener plays a big part in it.
Yeah,
you have to bring that up.
Yeah.
And the listener, I look at it as the listener is offering you 3.5 minutes of the generosity of their listening, when they could be doing one of 1,000 other things that are
so true.
Very important for them. So how are you going to fill that listening? You know, how are you going to fill it from top to bottom and make it worth their time? It's not a trivial thing, you know.
No, is it?
You know, dig deep or stay with the song. You know, go for great.
I used to hear it's the so what factor. I mean, is it something we really need to hear, or is it, do you listen? Yeah, so what?
Yeah,
you know?
No, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't pitch those. I really do look for where's the contribution in the song, and I pass on a lot of songs that are as good as what we're hearing on radio and could be cut. I'm just not.
Yeah,
I'm not interested. That's all there is to that.
There you go.
You know, I'm going to quote another guy that stole this line, but even within the song. I knew a songwriter who used to say, you know, that every line in the song is either a then what or a so what. You know, it's like, oh, then what happens? Then what? Then what? If you're not doing that in a song, it's a so what.
So good.
Yeah,
that's important.
Yeah.
Then what? So what? There's the name of our episode today. There you go.
All right.
Awesome, Steve. Good stuff, really. Hey, do you want to go with another one from Scott, or do you want to talk about? I wanted to save "Wake Up Call" for last, because the writers I really believe in love, and I really believe in this song. But where do you want to go from here? Because we've got other great songs here that Scott has written.
Yeah, well, let me say this about the first 4 songs that Scott played me. Mm-hmm. I felt that I knew who he was from his history. Mm-hmm. I felt I knew who he was from his values, his spiritual values, how he treats other people. I felt I got to know who he was as a husband. And I got to know who he was as a father.
Wow!
And I love
in 3 songs.
That was it took
4 songs. Yeah. Maybe what we can do is play little bits of these, so people can get an idea.
All right.
Like imagine you just talked about you knew about his relationship with his wife, and I imagine it came from this song. I want to love like you. Huh?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's one of the first 3 that he played me.
Let's play a little bit of this. Now, does he play a lot of different instruments? And this is piano heavy.
Piano and guitar.
Piano and guitar. I want to love like you.
I want to dream like Walt Disney, fly like the stars and stripes, stand up like Rosa Parks, shine like a Friday night, believe like Christmas morning, be cool song like Sinatra, fight like a soldier, pray like his mom. And I wanna love like you, I wanna love like you. You hold me like,
you know, sometimes that's all you get is a verse in a chorus, you know, especially when you're pitching to different publishers and stuff. But that song says a lot in just the short amount of time that we listen to that. Amazing lyrics, amazing melody as well. And I want to dream like Walt Disney. I mean, come on. I mean, gee, you know.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And let's run through these. We'll be done with them.
Yeah.
How about just a little of God's Not Me?
Let's do that. Here's a guitar.
If it was me, and I'd have had to watch that boy take his first drink back behind the barn when he was just 15. I'd have took a deep breath and shook my head. If it was me, and through the years I'd have seen him lose most everything: his wife, his kids, his job, his dignity, in a whiskey flood. I'd have thrown my hands up and said enough's enough. I'd have turned my back and walked away, left me to drown in my mistakes, wash my hands of it all and just let me be. But thank God, God's not me.
Man, God's Not Me.
If it was me.
Great song. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, something else.
If you want a little bit of no words for that, this is he wrote this.
Let's try it.
As a dad.
People always told me it was gonna change my life, but till that doctor laid you in my arms, I never realized they're smiling down at you and thinking you just smiled back. Well, there are no words for that. Then there was the first time you fell asleep on my chest. 6 months old, I watched you rise and fall with every breath. When you woke up, you said something that sounded like Dad, Dad. Well, there are no words for that. So I'm singing na 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 na. Do 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 do. La 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 la. Amen.
Can I tell you, there are a couple things that come to mind on that. First of all, we're songwriters, and you would think there would be words, you know, to describe these things. So that's such a perfect idea. There's just no words. The other thing about that song, you know, in episode 100, if you've not heard this one, we had Kevin Griffin, who is an amazing songwriter in this town, and he started a band called Better Than Ezra. In the mid-'90s, they had some huge hits, including one called Good. And in the chorus of that song, the words was wah wah. And I go, what's wah wah? And he goes, well, originally we were going to put lyrics in there, and we decided, hey, you know, somebody told him that keep that in there, you know. So he said, never underestimate the power of of just going la la la, na na na, in a song. Sometimes it really belongs. And like, there's a perfect example of that right there. Yeah. And you want to sing along with it. It's this beautiful melody. Maybe and the other brilliant thing about that is there are no words. So there's no words. Yeah. Right. That's cool. That's a great song.
Yeah. So, I mean, how many of us now don't think we have a little better idea of who the person is?
Exactly
Scott
right.
Shawn White. Now, NSAI has a bumper sticker, and it's all over town.
Mm-hmm. On my guitar case.
It all begins with a song.
It all does.
No, I don't agree.
You don't? Huh?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, I got to know why.
I think that it all begins with our histories, our values, and our vision for the future, and then we choose a medium from which to express what matters to us, and we've chosen the form, that's called song.
The problem with that is you can't put that on a bumper sticker.
Good point. Right.
But you know what? I got to agree. That's a good point.
Yeah, and so I look for that. I look to, my favorite guys historically are the guys that I thought, oh man, I could hang with Tom Waits, I could hang with John Prine,
Yeah,
you want to know those guys, and because they're sharing themselves with you, and you say, I can be with that guy.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel about Scott, even though on paper we couldn't be more different. Politically, every way you can imagine.
I imagine when
and we connect at the heart.
Oh yeah, and that's one two different worlds. Mm-hmm. You talked about you and him, and somehow you connected through songs and through the heart. That's really something. So I mean, is he still coming into town like every other couple times a month, or what? What's he do? And I imagine you got him booked up with rights every time.
Every other week, like clockwork.
Like clockwork. Well, maybe sometime we can make some time to have him come in. And you with him and just pick his brain a little bit and talk about songwriting. Yeah.
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
He comes to town. If we can get him to, he comes here to write.
Yeah.
And he says to me, the first thing he always says to me, he goes, "Now this here ain't no game." And then he gets right down to business. I love the guy.
Yeah, he's something else. He really is something else. He really is.
And these songs are all from our beginning together, which is 5 years maybe we've been together now.
Yeah.
So they're all older songs. I mean, he's
writing some great stuff now.
Yeah. We just got our third Cody Johnson cut. Thank you very much.
Johnson, oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Good. Well, he's doing well. And so are you. Now we talk about finding songs and in the whole process of where you go from there. And I thought a really good illustration of this could be, again, through a song that we both are very familiar with. The first time I heard about Fell Out of My Chair. And I heard it at a picking party, guitar pull kind of setting. And he was talking about this song. He was talking about Greg Wilson, who has been on our podcast before. Okay. And he was telling me about this song that they wrote with Bill O'Hanlon, who's also been on the show, and Michelle Canning, who I've had the opportunity to write with over the years. She's wonderful. And he was telling me about this song, and he played it, and like I said, about Fell Out of My Chair. And then the first time I saw you after that, we had dinner with Nancy Decant, and the first thing out of your mouth was, "Have you heard this song called The Wake Up Call?" And I went, "Yeah, wow." And you told me you just signed it. And it didn't surprise me in the least, because it was one of those songs that when you hear it's very impactful. And you also get that feeling, man, I wish I'd have written that, like you were saying. So tell me how you discovered it and what the process was. And we're going to play this song in just a little bit.
Well, okay. I first heard that song at the Muscle Shoals Songwriter Festival.
Okay.
I happened to. We were at the Airbnb, and Bill or Michelle, I forget which, played it. Mm-hmm. Greg wasn't there, and I had the same reaction that you did. Yeah. So I loved it. Yeah. And I don't sign too many outside songs or run with too many outside songs, but to me, what I said about looking for standout songs, standalone songs, original stories. Yeah. This one checks those boxes and has the emotion in it. You have to. The songs that I like sometimes require a little bit more of a intended listen. It's not the kind of thing that you will be driving down on a Sunday afternoon, in the car on the highway and be tapping your foot to. It's not that kind of song. It requires a little listening, but what an effort by the writers. And I think all we've got is at this point is just a little work tape that Greg did on his phone.
Really?
But,
no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's kind of song that's a tough pitch.
Because?
Well, for one, exactly what I said, that it requires a lot of listening. It's going to be tough to get it on the radio, which is it's really about the only way that you're going to make money in country music.
Yeah,
these
country radio
days,
plays it. Yeah,
as a generalization. So it doesn't really sort of lend itself there. On the other hand, it's my belief that if a song like this breaks through, it's kind of a song of the year kind of a song.
It really is.
It's
it's a three wooden crosses if it does that. Yeah, you're right.
So
yeah, well, let's play it. And again, this is Greg Wilson singing just a work tape, but Greg and Bill O'Hanlon and Michelle Canning are the songwriters here on their song. It's called "Wake Up Call."
My phone rang at 2 a.m. from a number I didn't recognize. When it rang again, I answered it, and a little voice just said hi. You said I didn't know your number, so I just took a guess. 'Cause the man on the TV said you can always call on Jesus. That caught me by surprise, and I sat up in my bed. He thought heaven was on the other end, so I just listened when he said, Jesus, I'm so scared, and I'm so glad you're there. I've been holding on to my teddy bear. I've been saying all my prayers. He said, I keep shaking Mama, but she won't wake up at all. And I knew that you would help us, 'cause you're the man up on the cross. There's an empty bottle by her head and some red pills on the floor. He said, I've been eating Captain Crunch, but there isn't any more. As his little voice was trembling, my heart was breaking inside. I didn't know what else to do, so I spoke like Jesus was on the line. And I said, I know you're scared, but buddy, I'm right here. Keep holding on to your teddy bear. I've heard all your prayers. Everything's gonna be okay. Don't you worry at all. I'm sending someone to help you, but until then, let's just talk. Oh, I copied down his number. I wiped out 911 in tears. When he heard them knocking on his door, he said, Jesus, I think your angels are here. And I hit my knees. Lord, I've been living scared, like I haven't had a prayer. It's been a while since I've talked to you. Almost forgot that you were there. But tonight you woke me up. I've been asleep for way too long. I felt your spirit move right through me. And Jesus, I stand in awe. It took a scared little boy's random late night call. Oh, but maybe it wasn't random after all. God, I woke up when I got that wake up come.
Wow. That should open up some doors, I would think, for Greg and company.
Well, that's a great calling card.
Oh, man. Amazing. Yeah. Now, when you first heard it, was it a work tape like that?
No, I heard it.
Full production?
When I
you
first
first
heard
started? Yeah.
No, it was at that Airbnb. They had a guitar. I think Michelle played it.
Played it live, okay.
Yeah, Michelle played it and sang it, and it floored me. And,
wow.
Yeah, I was really, thankful to have been there that night.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. And then what was the next step on the process?
Well,
then what?
I wanted the song. I thought there were a couple of places that needed to be tightened up in the song, and we worked hard on that. And I want to give a shout out to Greg Wilson for really, really sticking with it. He's a great guy. Came over a bunch of times and we tried to get the timing right on it, and a whole bunch of things, made a few changes. And then I've played it for some people, and I get mostly very, very positive reactions. But again, it's just the commercial, the commerce. Can people imagine how they can, frankly, make money from the song? And it's again, it's just not what it's not a McDonald's hamburger.
No, it's not.
But
it's got a life of its own. So you just never know. Sometimes it takes time.
It always takes time. But yeah.
But a great song's a great song. And, and I agree with you 100%. It's a great song.
Yeah. As corny as this might sound, I really just want to be around greatness. I mean, honestly, I just want to.
That's another thing
we be really proud of the art that I get to be around, and one of the smart things I've done in my life is choose to spend my waking hours with songwriters.
Yeah,
my background's in early childhood education, believe it or not.
Really,
which was a really good. Good training ground for what I do now in a lot of ways, and I've chosen well. Chose to be around kids. I coach Little League here, and songwriters, and that's how we spend our waking hours.
That's cool.
So,
and I always should tell my students. I taught broadcasting for a while. And I used to tell them, follow your passions. Where's that passion take you? There's a reason why it's in there. There's a reason for it. So, absolutely. And I see you do the same thing. So before I let you go, can they find you online anywhere? Or are you reachable or no? Should we just for consulting and things?
Well,
you do your one-on-one sessions
okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I do offer one-on-one consulting sessions, and my promise there really is that you'll leave with a much greater and realistic appreciation of how high the bar really is.
Yeah, it is high.
And how to maybe help you, shoot for that.
Yeah.
Why some songs work and others don't is another thing that can come through with that. Mm-hmm. With those sessions, I do the speed pitch. I guess Steve Bloch, music@gmail would be the way to find me.
Gmail. Okay.
And
find you online anywhere? Yeah. They can search out.
I don't. Yeah, you could find me. I don't have a great online presence, and part of that is by design.
Yeah, I got you. You don't be inundated with thousands of songs in your inbox. So yeah,
it's not that I think I'm any more important than anybody else, and honestly, that's true. But
I can just tell.
But one thing that we do have in common, if you're in the industry here, is we're busy.
Yeah, it's true.
And
never enough hours in the day.
And managing that is quite challenging for me and for many others. Is how do you?
Yeah, it is.
How do you stay on top of your emails and
I don't know how to do it.
That sort of thing.
I'll try.
We do our best. That's all I can say.
I do a songwriter and I do 2 radio shows, this podcast, and then I keep a very busy writing schedule. So it gets crazy. But you know what the difference is? We're doing what we want to do, Steve, right? I mean,
no complaints.
There's
no room for complaint in this town either, by the way.
No, that's right.
The quickest way to become jaded is to, be disgruntled. I mean, And if you are, who's going to want to be around you?
Exactly.
If you're a walking complaint, so you're really signing your own death sentence if you're not somebody that's upbeat and positive and appreciative of the efforts of others.
Exactly right.
I will say, if I had to do this over, I might have played a song of Scott's that came out today, called "Pullin' Weeds," and it's on his second album. It's the first cut, and today's the first day. So I didn't even make that connection until just now. It just occurred to me.
Find it out there. Folks, you can find it.
It's called "Pullin' Weeds," and you'll get to know again who this guy is as a person.
I'm going to find it and listen, for sure.
It's wonderful.
Absolutely.
And the album, his new project's called "Even on a Bad Day."
Oh, good. Awesome. Steve Bloch has been our guest in the Songwriter Connection. Steve, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
A lot of time
I enjoyed it.
Your busy schedule today to be with us, and it was all valuable stuff. So thank you so much, and all the best, and more success ahead for you, I know.
Thanks.
Yes. Right, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Songwriter Connection podcast. Find us on social media at Songwriter Connection. Also, listen to Dave Lanahan's Nashville Connections radio show. It streams live every Friday morning on WOBL and WNOI. Look for us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next time on Songwriter Connection.